Jesus came that you might have life and that you might have it more abundantly. He wants you not just to get through life, but to enjoy life. How many want to enjoy your life? Yeah, good. Not just when you get to heaven, while you're here, you want to enjoy life. So I think life is a gift. How many like getting gifts? Now, I've not been to Finland. I know you have reindeer, so you must believe in Santa Claus, right? How many like gifts? How many like getting gifts? Christmas gifts, any kind of gifts, birthday gifts. How many like giving gifts? Have you ever found the perfect gift for somebody? And you're like, oh, they're gonna love this. You know what I'm talking about? Like you can't wait to give it to them. Like my wife knows, I love giving gifts. You know, she knows our anniversary. We just had our 25th wedding anniversary, and and she said, honey, she said, I had a dream last night. It was our anniversary. She said, I had a dream last night that you were going to give me a diamond necklace for our anniversary. She said, what do you think that means? I said, tonight when we go to dinner, I give you your gift, you're gonna find out what it means. And she was so excited. We went to dinner that night and I gave her gift. She ripped the paper off of it, and I'd bought her this book on the meaning of dreams. Because I had no idea what it meant. I had no idea, but hopefully that helped her. But life is a gift, right? Gifts are meant to be enjoyed. Gifts are meant to be unwrapped. So God gave every one of us this gift called life. Life is a gift. And I think that's why a weekend like this is so important, that you find God's vision for your life. The Bible says where there is no vision, people perish. So we're going to go through some things all throughout the Word of God that tells us about the power of vision, the importance of vision, developing clear vision. Pastor started it last night. How many are grateful for your pastors, by the way? How many thankful for them? Thank you guys for having me this weekend to come and be with you. And I mean, just that they would take the time to put a weekend like this together for you. It's not that they didn't have anything else to do, but to make the investment to put this, because they see your vision. They see where you're going. They see the importance of you knowing where you're going and the gift that you are. Life is a gift, and gifts are meant to be enjoyed. So life is meant to be enjoyed. Now, everyone has different gifts. I can't be you, and you can't be me. Don't expect me to preach as good as Pastor Tommy. I can't do it. I wish I could. I'm probably just going to sit here. Yeah, he jumps all around. I'm just going to sit here. And well, if I was as skinny as him, I'd probably run around too. But at my size, I just want to sit here. But actually, it's because we're going to be here for a while. I'm kidding. We will be here for a little while. But anyway, could you imagine giving someone a gift? Like you picked it out just for them, and you give it to them, and they said, oh, thanks, and just put it on the table. You're like, no, open it. I got that for you. I'll open it later. No, open it now. And that's what God's saying. Look, some of you are just going through life, getting by every day, no vision, no idea where you're going, not unwrapping this incredible gift that God gave you called life. You just set it on the table, and God's like, no, I got this just for you. Unwrap it. I got my mother-in-law a gift for Christmas a few years ago. I got her a cemetery plot. Do y'all know what that is? Here, where you bury people at this. Anyway, it was my mother-in-law. So the next year I didn't get her anything, and she was upset with me. She goes, "You didn't give me anything for Christmas this year." I said, "You didn't even use what I got you last year." I'm just saying, when you buy someone a gift, right? You want them to use it. You want them to enjoy it. And so here's this gift called life. How do we get the most out of life? How do we unwrap it? How do we find the vision that God has for us? Listen, I think if you did anything right, you did something right by coming out tonight, by being here tomorrow, if you can, all through the whole weekend. I think you made a good decision. I believe tonight I had to go to a meeting one day, and I couldn't find the keys to my car. I was going out to the car, couldn't find my keys. How many have ever lost your keys? Okay, most people. How many have been looking for your keys, and you looked places that you've never put your keys? Right? You know what I'm saying? Like, I can't find my keys. I'm looking in the refrigerator. Did I set them in here? I've never put my keys in, but I'm looking all over for my keys. Well, now all of a sudden I'm spending all this time. I've got to get to the meeting. I'm looking all over for my keys, and now I'm wasting time, right? I'm wasting all this time looking for my keys. And if you understand time is really all you've got. That's all God gave you was time. So if we don't learn to value our time, see, every country has a currency, right? America has the dollar, and England has the pound, and there's the euro, and Japan has the yen. All these countries have a currency. Earth has a currency. Heaven has a currency, right? Heaven has a currency. Anything you need from heaven, you receive it by what? By faith, right? So faith would be heaven's currency. Earth has a currency. Earth's currency is time. Anything you have today, you traded your time for. Anything you don't have today, you've been unwilling to trade your time for, but all God gave you was time. God didn't give me friends, God gave me time. I trade my time with someone, and now I build a friendship. You see, God didn't give me money, God gave me time. I went to work, someone gave me a paycheck. I traded my time for everything that I have. So if we don't learn to value our time, because time, you ever heard that saying, time is money, right? And so if I'm not valuing my time, that's why when I have meetings, my meeting times always have a beginning time and an ending time. Because if I don't value my time, no one else is going to value my time. You ever had someone stop by and go, hey, I'm just wasting some time. Thought I'd come see what you were doing. Like, okay, now you're wasting my time too, right? And all I have is time. So I don't want to waste a moment of my day. Anyway, I'm looking all over for my keys. I can't find my keys. Now, I have a place where I hang my keys just inside the door. So when I come in the house, I just hang my keys. So whenever it's time to go, I know right where to get my keys. I created order. Order is the accurate arrangement of things. When things are where they're supposed to be, it creates order. And you feel good when you create order. You ever straightened up the shoes in your closet and felt like you could conquer the world that day? How many know what I'm talking about? You ever straightened up your desk, you're like, what else could I do today? All of a sudden, you feel like you can do anything. Why? Because you created order. Well, if you understand, God is a God of order. So when you straighten up your closet, you were actually doing a godly thing. That's why when you create order, see, there's a big difference between the person of Jesus and the principles of Jesus. The person of Jesus prepares you for heaven. The principles of Jesus prepare you for earth. There are ungodly people who use godly principles to achieve ungodly results. For the last 6 or 7 years, I was on a tour in the States. It's the largest business conferences in America called Get Motivated. And some of the guys on the tour with me were, do y'all have the show Shark Tank? Did y'all get that show over here? So I was on tour with the guys from Shark Tank. So one of the guys on Shark Tank, Damon John, was sharing about how he started his business, FUBU and all this, and he was talking about writing down your goals, writing down your vision, writing down where you're going. And he said, when you write down your goals, you dramatically increase the likelihood of accomplishing them if you'll take time to write it down. I said, well, of course. I said, that's in the Bible. He said, that's not in the Bible. I said, yeah, all the stuff you're teaching. The Bible is the greatest success book ever written. Right? All the stuff you're teaching is all here in the Bible. He said, where is that in the Bible? So I showed him Habakkuk chapter 2, write the vision, right? Make it plain so that you can run with it. So you got to know where you're going so you can write it down. And then it says you got to develop it so plainly that you can read it. Another version says so you can read it on the run. So while you're running, you ever try to read something while you're running? You can read it while you're running. That's how clear your vision has to be. Tomorrow we're going to talk about getting a clear vision. There's we have all kind of vision blockers in our life, things that'll try to block us from seeing where we're going. And so we'll talk about that tomorrow. But and so I showed him that was in the Bible. He said, I didn't know that was in the Bible. I said, yeah, all these principles you're teaching are in the Bible, like the principle of order. right? God is a God of orders. Order is the accurate arrangement of things. That's why you feel good when you put things in order, because you're doing godly things. So all these principles are here to help us to get to the place God has for us, because we know God has a plan for us, right? He even told us in Jeremiah 29, verse 11, I have a plan for you, and it's for good. And that's good right there, just to know that God's plans for you are for good. They're not to hurt you, they're not to harm you, they're to prosper you and to give you hope for a future. Yeah, and look, you look better in the future. Sometimes you got to look at yourself good. You look better in the future. And you look much better than you look right now. You know, sometimes you just got to talk to yourself a little bit. What you say to yourself is some of the most important conversations you'll ever have are the conversations you have with yourself. You know, even when I'm trying to get something down, or really a principle, sometimes I'll record myself saying it, and then I'll just play it back to me. Because if I'm going to believe anybody, I'm going to believe me. I don't want to lie to myself. A lot of us are lying to ourselves. And so you got to get a picture, and you got to get an idea, and then you begin to move toward that vision. It's of good. It's God has good things for you. So I'm going to jump into a little bit of this tonight, and so be listening. Well, here's what I was going to finish saying about the time, and that wasn't even in my notes. That was just a bonus, the value of time, because that's all God gave you. So my keys, that's where I was going. Yeah. We'll talk about structure later. I'm just kind of over here and there. But I finally found my keys, and I took off to the meeting. I got about halfway to the meeting when all of a sudden I realized the only thing that was keeping me between where I was and where I needed to be was a key. I didn't need to find my whole key ring. All I needed was the one key that started my car. How many know it doesn't take a lot of keys to start your car? It just takes the right key to start your car. So tonight, tomorrow, throughout this weekend, last night, this morning, you've been getting keys, right? You're going to leave this weekend with a key ring, a set of keys. But there'll be one key. You'll say, that's the key I needed. That's the one I needed to get my car started, to get me moving in the right direction. Because how many like to be doing better than you're doing right now in some area of your life? Let me see your hand. Okay, most every one of us. If you're not doing as well as you'd like to be doing, it just means there's something you don't know. If you're not doing as well as you'd like to be doing, it just means there's something you don't know. The difference between where you are and where you want to be is what you know. It's wisdom. The Bible says wisdom is the principal thing. Whatever you do, get wisdom. And the difference between seasons is wisdom. So you don't like where you're at, what don't you know? And so when you leave here, there's going to be a key. You're going to say, that's the key I needed, Dave, right there. That's the one that'll get me moving in the right direction. Because if you want tomorrow to be different than today, you're going to have to learn something today that will make tomorrow different. If you go into tomorrow with the same information you have today, you won't really have a tomorrow, you'll just have a longer today. Right? Tomorrow will be just like today, unless you learn something different, unless you put a different principle to practice to get you moving in the right direction. So be listening tonight for that key, that one thing. You said, that's the one thing that I needed that'd get me moving in the right direction. My whole growing up in church, I didn't hear a lot of this kind of stuff growing up in church, but there was something that began to really impact me. And I think it really happened during some sport. Playing sports that begin to get a little motivational stuff, and as I hear this stuff, I'd say that's in the Bible. I remember hearing that in the Bible, and so I began to study the Word of God and begin to find where these principles of success were all found in the Bible. And I was reading a story about a guy named Sir Edmund Hillary. Has anybody ever heard of Sir Edmund Hillary? Anybody? Okay, 2 or 3 people. He's the first man to ever summit Mount Everest. First man to climb to the top of Mount Everest. And I've heard of Sir Edmund Hillary climb Mount Everest. That's pretty awesome. I just figured he woke up one day and said, I'm going to climb Mount Everest. And he went out there and he climbed to the top. pretty easy. Wow, no one else could do it. As I began to study his story and look at some documentaries, I found out that he didn't make it the first time he tried to climb Mount Everest. He had to go back down. He realized there was some equipment that he was missing and some other things that he needed, and he tried again. He didn't make it the second time. So he got a coach, someone who had climbed before, and he looked at the equipment, and he had to do a little more training physically, and he tried again. And he did. How many have ever made a mistake? Yeah. If you've never made a mistake, you probably never made anything. Right? Everybody makes mistakes. And the most successful people I know have made some of the biggest mistakes. But what do? They get up and they go at it again. I wrote a book a few years ago. I've had the opportunity to work with a lot of NBA players, basketball players in the States. And there's one who was killed in an accident a few years ago that I had the opportunity to work with by the name of Kobe Bryant. If you follow basketball, you may know that name. And Kobe and I were sitting in the lobby of a hotel in California, and he had just set the record for the most missed shots in the history of the NBA. He missed more shots than anybody else in the whole history. How'd you like to have that record? You think that's a horrible record to have. What's amazing is 7 days after he set the record for the most missed shots, he passed up a guy by the name of Michael Jordan, who was a basketball player. He doesn't just make shoes. Okay. He passed up Michael Jordan for the most points scored. So the same guy with the most missed shots passes up one of the greatest players of all time for the most points scored. I said, how did you do it? He says, real simple, I just took another shot. How simple is that? You miss a shot, what do? Take another shot. No, we quit. We get in fear. You cannot let the fear of failure keep you from trying again, right? You can't let the fear, we're all gonna miss some shots. We're all gonna make some mistakes. If you're in business, if you're an entrepreneur. And so I ended up writing a book, and I think they mentioned it earlier. It's one of the books that we have available called Another Shot. That's where I got the title for the book, Another Shot. It's all about developing a game plan, which we may talk about how to develop a plan, because planning is a God thing. Well, I thought we'd just trust God. No, all throughout the Bible, he laid out plans for battle, plans for bringing an offering, plans for building the temple. All throughout the Bible, you see all these plans. He said, if you'll commit your plans to me, I will cause them to succeed. So some of you are just praying for success, but you've never put a plan together that you can even bring to him. And so we've got to bring a plan. Hey, God, here's my plan. And then God will cause your plan to succeed. We'll talk a little bit about planning sometime, hopefully here throughout the weekend. But that book really helps you develop a plan for coming back. If you go through, we have a little coaching program that goes with it. And when you go through that, you'll end up with actually a written plan. It takes about 30 days, and every day we'll sit down and we'll help you write out the plan, develop the plan, figure out the plan. And it'd be like, what if I could just come to your house for like 30 days? Just come stay at your house. We'd meet every day and come up with a plan. How many would be interested in that? You're like, I don't even know you that well. I don't know if I want you at my house every day or not. Okay, well, I'll ask you tomorrow. Maybe we'll get to know each other. But on the back of the book, there's a quote by a guy named Evander Holyfield. And I mentioned his name not because I'm trying to drop names. I'm just trying to tell you what the 5-time heavyweight champion of the world said about my book. It's a joke. But he's a boxer, so the quote makes sense. He said, it's not getting knocked down that makes you lose the fight. It's not getting back up, right? We're all going to get knocked down sometimes. But what do? We get back up, right? We get back up. So if anything I've learned from spending time with Oprah is that you shouldn't drop names. But, okay, so some of y'all get that. You'll get that later. You'll get it on the way home. But back to Sir Edmund Hillary. Sir Edmund Hillary, he did something well, we can find it in the Bible. After he didn't make it up to the top of Mount Everest the first time, he didn't make it to the top of Mount Everest the second time, he went and he looked at Mount Everest and he spoke to the mountain. Have you ever heard about anything like that? Maybe in the Bible, speaking to your mountain. And he said to Mount Everest, he said, I will come again and conquer you, because as a mountain, you cannot grow, but as a human, I can. It's a really powerful statement when you understand the power of personal growth. And the Bible talks to us about the value of wisdom. Proverbs 1 verse 5 said a wise person will increase in learning. So if you're smart, the Bible says you'll want to get a little bit smarter. And so hopefully we're going to do that. And that statement right there just sparked my journey of personal growth and personal development and my passion to really teach it to other people. And so I've spent thousands of hours studying great achievers, whether it was great on the battlefield, great in the business field, great on the baseball field, great in the field of ministry, whatever area of life, what made them great. And I put that into a book we have out there too called 12 Traits of the Greats, where I studied the great achievers and found what are some common qualities in their life. We're going to talk about some of those tonight, and I think it's going to help you. But here's three things I want you to write down. Number one, and you wouldn't be here tonight if you didn't value this or know the importance of this. So if you're online, go grab a pen. Just don't think you can just sit there and watch us. You got to join in, okay? But if you're in the room, write these things down. If you got a pen, write them down. If you got your phone, put them in there if you're taking notes. If you're not taking notes, just go ahead and write these things down. I think they'll help you. Number one, growth is not automatic. It's your responsibility. Growth is not automatic. It's your responsibility. You're only young once. You can be immature indefinitely. You got to make a choice to grow. Like I said, if you want tomorrow to be different than today, you got to learn something today that will make tomorrow different. So I try to learn something every day. Sometimes it's little things. I mean, it's not life-changing things, but we've got a guy in our church. We have a church in Detroit, which is where all the big three car companies are. And the guy in our church, his company makes all the airbags and seat belts for the Ford F-150 truck. So I was talking to him one day, and he was explaining airbags to me. I didn't really even understand airbags and how it all works. But if an airbag deploys, it costs about $500 to put an airbag back. So if you're in an accident and your airbag goes off, it costs about $500 to put it back. I didn't know that. He told me that, and I thought that was interesting information. Then he explained to me that if no one's with you on the passenger side and the airbag deploys, you still have to pay $500 to put that one back, even though no one's there. So in some cars, you can turn the airbag off, right? That airbag off, because you don't want to deploy if no one's there. And actually, it made me start thinking about the people who were there, right? Because that's $500. Got to decide who's worth it. Anyway, okay. So there's always something to learn. There's always something to learn. And so I think personal growth is your responsibility. Now, you're taking responsibility tonight to come out to grow. You came last time, maybe you came this morning. And we don't like to talk a lot about responsibility. Actually, in the book I wrote, 12 Traits of the Greats, it's the very first trait is responsibility. Because if you can't make it past that one, the other ones aren't going to matter, really. Most of us don't like to take responsibility. We'd rather blame someone else, right? It's my parents' fault. It's my boss's fault. It's the government's fault. We can always blame somebody else. My doctor the other day, beginning of the year, he told me, he said, Dave, you need to lose 30 pounds this year. And here we are now, September? And I've only got like 40 to go. I've been trying. My wife told me that day, she said, honey, don't worry about losing weight. You have got the body of a God. I was like, thanks, babe. She said, yeah, Buddha. Anyway, I didn't think that was very nice. But I was doing so well. I was doing so well losing weight until I saw this T-shirt the other day, said fat people are harder to kidnap. I'm like, I gotta save myself. They'll grab Pastor, take him away. I'll be safe, see? If you don't make personal growth your responsibility, it's never gonna happen. The road to anything worthwhile is always uphill. So the sooner you get started, the sooner you'll get to reaching your God-given potential. The reason that first grade desks are so small is because you're not supposed to be sitting in them when you're 23, right? You're supposed to grow. You're supposed to develop. You're supposed to become more. And so you've got to take time to grow. Henry Ford, that made the Ford automobile, the first automobile, said it's been my observation that successful people get ahead during the time that other people waste. So when do you find time to grow? Here's what it says in Joshua chapter 1, verse 8. The book of the law, another version says the book of instruction, that's the Bible, shall not depart out of your mouth, but you shall meditate on it day and night. If you do what's in it, then you will make your way prosperous. How many want to be prosperous? How many want to be happier than you are right now? Healthier than you are right now? More love in your home, more joy, more peace. Oh, look at all you selfish people, just all. The word prosperous in the Bible just means to do well. It's like a commandment that thou shalt do well, right? God wants you to prosper. He wants you to do well. His plans for you are for good. And if you'll do what his word says, not just hear it, but actually do it, if you'll follow these principles, you will do well. You'll prosper and succeed. You'll be successful in all that you do. And so we want to find out what these principles are, what these instructions are, and because there's wisdom for every area of your life, all throughout the Bible. That's why he says meditate on it day and night. When's day and night? That's all the time, right? So that means wherever you're at, whether you're at home with your family, there's wisdom on how to be a better parent, how to be a better father or a better mother, how to be a better spouse. Or if you're at work, there's principles. How many of you ever negotiated something, had to negotiate at work or something? Maybe you bought a car. We've all negotiated. How many married? How many married people in here? Married people. Okay, you've negotiated. The Apostle Paul was an incredible negotiator. This is Vision Weekend, so I don't have time. I think it's in one of these. But I give you 7 secrets of negotiation. I found all from the life of the Apostle Paul. So all the principles are here, right? They're there to help us. We just gotta get in there, and we gotta take responsibility. We gotta take responsibility for what it is that we wanna learn. Like I said, it's easy to blame other people. Right? I heard about a guy was pulled over by the police, and the police said, "Sir, your car was swerving. I'm gonna need you to take a breathalyzer test." He said, "Oh, officer," he said, "I can't take those." He said, "What do you mean you can't take those?" He said, "I've got asthma." He said, "If I breathe in that thing, I could have an asthma attack. If I have an asthma attack, I could die. If I died, it'd be your fault." The officer said, "That's horrible. I don't want to be responsible for that." He said, "How about this? Get in the car. I'll take you down to the station. I need to get a blood sample from you." He said, "Oh." He said, "I can't do that." The officer said, "Why can't you do that?" He said, "I'm diabetic. Probably won't get a good read on it. Plus, I'm a hemophiliac, so if you stick me, I'll start bleeding. I can't quit bleeding. I could bleed to death, and I would die, and it would be your fault." The officer said, "Fine. How about this? Just step out of the car and walk down this line right here." The guy said, "Oh." He said, "I can't do that." The officer said, "Why can't you do that?" He said, "Because I'm drunk." See, A lot of people have excuses, right? I can't do this or I can't do that. But if you're going to do anything great with your life, if you're going to reach the full potential God has for you, if you're going to walk into the vision for your life, you're going to have to learn to take responsibility. If you just look at that word responsibility, if you wrote that down, look how many I's are in that word. There's a lot of I's in the word responsibility because, there's a lot of I's that you need to deal with. I call it the rules of responsibility. It's really the foundation of this principle is understanding those I's. And let me give you three I rules in responsibility. If you notice all those I's, it's responsibility is a very personal issue, and it will take it'll take a tremendous amount of I work, working on me to break through that. And I can give you scriptures. Write some of these down. We'll get into a lot more scriptures throughout the weekend, but Galatians chapter 6 talks about that. Everyone, each one, verses 4 and 5, should test their own actions. Then they can take pride in themselves alone without carrying themselves or someone else, for each one should carry their own load. It's pretty clear that you are responsible for you. So tonight I want you to think of like yourself as a corporation. You Incorporated, okay? You Inc. And what are some of the principles you need to make your company successful? What do you need to do? What are the personal growth principles that are going to help you Inc. accomplish great things? What's going to get you to the top of the Forbes 100 or the Forbes 500 list or in you Inc. So it's really clear that you're responsible for you. So number one, I cannot blame others. I cannot blame others. Like I said, you can always, I need to lose this weight. My wife, she's Italian. So I blame her because she cooks with pastas and there's a lot of carbs in that. That's what made me gain this weight. If you're going to take responsibility, you can't be looking everywhere else for the reason. You don't have the luxury of abdicating responsibility for your life, for your health, for your relationships. Like I said, the only problem you'll ever have in life is a wisdom problem. You don't have marriage problems, you just have some wisdom problems. You don't have financial problems, you just have some wisdom problems. A lot of times you don't have health problems, you just have some wisdom problems. And I will tell you this, the more wisdom you have, the less miracles you'll need. Now, I believe in miracles. Don't get me wrong. Well, he doesn't believe in miracles? Oh, no, I thank God for miracles. I could use a couple right now. But how many have ever made this statement? If I knew back then what I know now. How many have ever made that statement? If I knew back then what I knew now, if I would have known back then what I know now, I wouldn't have made the decisions I made. If I'd have had the wisdom back then that got me to the place I am today where now I need a miracle. So God gives us wisdom to help us. Now, like I said, I thank God for miracles. My son's a miracle. He's 17 now, but my wife and I tried for 9 years to have a baby, and finally she got pregnant, which was a miracle. And we went in, and they were doing all the tests and everything as we're going through the process, and they said, "Wait, we've got a problem. It looks like your baby is in your fallopian tube. It's a tubal pregnancy. We're going to have to remove the baby." Well, we've been praying and believing for 9 years. Finally, she's pregnant, and now they're telling us they're going to have to remove the baby. And we said, "Well, can we pray? We just need some time to pray." They said, "Well, we're going to schedule the surgery for Friday." And I said, can you schedule it for Monday and just give us the weekend? And they said, "Yeah, that's fine. We'll do it on Monday." And so we just prayed throughout the weekend, believed God. And people told us, you just got to accept it. And we decided we're not going to accept it. We're just going to keep believing that God can turn this thing around. We've been praying a long time. And I just still believe God does miracles. Anyway, we got to the hospital and they got ready for the surgery. They took her in and they did one last ultrasound just to make sure everything was where it needed to be or what they needed to do. And when they were doing the ultrasound, they said, "Wait a minute, someone's made a huge mistake. Your baby's not in your tube. Your baby's in your womb exactly where he's supposed to be." And, they called it a mistake. We just called it a miracle. you know. And so she went on to carry him, you know, the whole 9 months. And he came out, you know, he came out perfect. So, well, he didn't come out perfect. He's not perfect, but he came out perfect. Actually, he didn't even come out perfect. He was born C-section. So, anyway. You can't tell when you look at him, though. He looks totally normal. Some of y'all get that later. Y'all call that C-section? Y'all call that here? Yeah. Only way you can tell he was born C-section is whenever he leaves the house, he goes through a window. But other than that, he's totally normal. Okay, so it's so much easier, right? So much easier to blame other people. So much easier to blame other people. We love to point out all our issues that other people have caused in our life. You know, my employees don't work hard enough. My parents gave me bad genes. My family spends all the money I make. My kids go to an expensive college. My boss doesn't give me all the opportunities. And we can always keep coming up with, but if you want to be successful, if you want to do great things in your life, if you do, then you're going to have to take some responsibility for every facet of your life, for your achievements, for your productivity, for your results, for your relationships, for your health, for your income, for your debt, for your feelings, everything. You're going to have to take responsibility. How many married people are in here? Married people? Okay, good. Quite a few married people. Any single people? Any single people? Okay, good. Single people, married. And whatever. The Bible's got good things for married people and single. How many married people, you and your spouse, are totally different? Let me see your hands, you and your spouse. That's all married people, yeah. That's me and my wife. We're night and day different, you know. She's from New York, and I'm from Mississippi. Now, if you know about the thing about the states, that's totally different. She's from the north, I'm from the south, just different. My dad's a preacher, my grandfather's a preacher. Her dad's a heathen, and her grandfather's a heathen. It's different, right? She grew up wealthy. We grew up poor. We thought you're supposed to be poor, because poor people go to heaven. That's what they told us. We did everything we could to stay broke. We were trying to get to heaven, you know. Do y'all have ice cream trucks here that drive around? My dad told us, this is how poor we were. My dad told us if the ice cream trucks are playing music, that meant they're out of ice cream. So he didn't want us to go over there. So you got to take responsibility, right? And single people, by the way, there's all kind of good, everything you need. There's good pickup lines in the Bible if you need them, single people. Like the other day, I was reading the book of Numbers, and I realized I don't have yours. See, that's a Christian pickup line right there. Okay. Like, your name must be Faith because you're everything I've ever hoped for. Anyway. Romans 2, verse 1, you therefore have no excuse. No excuse, right? Quit making up all these excuses. You'll never become successful as long as you continue to blame someone else for where you are in life. There's a great football coach in the States named Lou Holtz, and I love this statement. He said, the man who complains about the way the ball bounces is probably the one who dropped it, right? So take the word fault out of your diction, out of your vocabulary. Quit saying it's someone else's fault. And instead of blaming yourself, take time to work on you and make you better. When you travel a lot, you get a lot of time to think. And I'm always thinking about what I can do different, what I can do better. I had a long flight over here. It gave me a lot of time to think. Instead of blaming, what can I change? What can I do differently? So the first rule, number one, is no blaming. And sometimes we even talk to ourselves. There's a whole story we'll probably get into tomorrow, maybe a little bit in Numbers 13. It talks about the spies that went over to spy out the land, and 10 of them came back and said, we look like grasshoppers, right? And a lot of times we don't reach the potential. We all said we wanted to do better than we're doing right now, but some of it's a picture we have of ourselves. We have this picture, the next time you feel like a failure, maybe you feel like that right now, maybe you felt like that, how am I ever going to accomplish anything great? That's great, have a vision, but how, you don't understand what I've been through, what I've done, or where I've been. And next time you think God can't use you for something great, just think about all the people in the Bible that he used, right? I mean, my goodness, you just start going through the list of our heroes. They were some jacked up people. I've made a whole list of when you think God can't use you, remember Noah. Remember Noah? Noah was a drunk. God still used him. Abraham was too old. God still used him. Isaac was a daydreamer. Jacob was a liar. Joseph was abused. Moses was a stutterer. Gideon was afraid. Samson had long hair. Rahab was a prostitute. Leah was ugly. I'm not judging Leah. It's in the Bible, people. Jeremiah was too young. David had an affair. Elijah was suicidal. Jonah ran from God. Naomi was a widow. Job went bankrupt. Peter denied Christ. I'd like to be the guy that said, I don't know him. Like, you're with Jesus. You're one of his guys. And you're like, hey, do you know Jesus? Never heard of him. Not just once, 3 times. And then what did Jesus say? Peter, come on, let's go. We still got work to do. I mean, that's pretty messed up. You ever wondered, though, why he would do that? I mean, you're with Jesus. Why would you deny him? I don't know if this is the reason, but I did notice right before this whole thing where Peter denied Jesus, if you read just a few scriptures back, is when Jesus healed Peter's mother-in-law. Maybe he was upset about that. I don't know. But the disciples fell asleep while they were praying with Jesus. He still used them. See, when you think Mary worried about everything, the Samaritan woman was divorced more than once. God still used her. I thought about her today. I got to the hotel and I got on the elevator. This lady looked at me on the elevator. She goes, you look just like my third husband. That was my first time to Finland. I'm not sure. I'm like, I was like, how many times have you been married? And she said twice. Zacchaeus was too small. Paul was too religious. Timothy had an ulcer. How about this? Next time you feel like God can't use you, Lazarus was dead. So quit blaming everyone else, okay? The second I have created my current circumstances. I have created my, that's the cold hard truth. Your decisions put you where you are today. I'm not saying that things didn't happen to you in your life that you couldn't control or you were beyond your control, but if you don't learn to, the Bible even tells us, right? In the world, you will have trials, tribulation, distress, frustration. You're gonna go through some things in life, right? How many have ever been on an airplane that hit turbulence? Let me see, have you ever been on, okay, most everybody in here. What'd you do when the airplane hit turbulence? Prayed, screamed, held on, buckled up. Let me ask this, did anybody get off the plane? Like, I'm out, I can't handle turbulence. No, you can't, you hold on, you buckle up, right? You just, let me ask this, how many have ever been on an airplane that hit turbulence and you're still here. We all made it, right? Same thing in life. How many have ever hit some turbulence in life? Things got a little bumpy, right? What you're in the world, you'll have trials, tribulations, but be of good cheer. Right? Lighten up. You mean you want me to have a good attitude in the middle of my trials? And that's what the Bible says. Yeah. You decide. When I got up this morning, I decided today is going to be a good day. Don't you ever wake up on the wrong side of the bed? Nope. Whichever side I get up on is the right side. Because it's my choice, right? This is the day the Lord has made. I made a choice to rejoice. Someone else said, do you ever wake up grumpy? I go, sometimes I wake up grumpy, right? Sometimes I let her sleep. But I hope she's not watching this stream right now. I'm just kidding. I got on the plane one day. This lady sat down next to me. She was like, I've never flown before. She's real nervous about flying. She goes, I've never flown before. And I said, don't worry, I'm on the plane. It's going to be fine. So the plane took off, and I sleep on the plane. I can't stay awake. As soon as the plane takes off, I fall asleep. And so I'm asleep. And about 20 minutes in, we hit turbulence. And I felt she started hitting me. She goes, hey, wake up. I'm like, huh? She's like, do something. I said, what do you want me to do? She goes, didn't you say you were like a preacher or something? I said, I'm like a preacher. I'm not like a pilot. She goes, well, just do something religious. So I got up and took an offering. Okay. In the world, you will have trials, but be of good cheer, right? He's already overcome the world. So your decisions, right? You decided who you were going to ask to marry you. You decided what career you were going to choose. You decided who you were going to hang out with on the weekend. You decided whether or not you're going to smoke that stuff. You decided, right? You decided whether you're going to save some money from your paycheck or spend it all. You decided whether you're going to make church a priority and show up on Sunday. You decided what food was going to go in your mouth. You did. You decided what you were going to watch, whether you were going to watch TV or whether you were going to go for a walk. You had to decide that. You, good or bad, you are the reason your life is where it is today. And if you don't learn to take responsibility, you guys don't like this part, I can tell. I got some other stuff here. Just give me a minute. No, you're the decision maker. So here's the good news. You can start making some different decisions this weekend, right? You can make a choice. You want to fulfill the vision that God has for your life and that you see, then you got to choose some. You created the present. Guess what? You can create the future. You can create the future. Your future is controlled by you. Well, I thought God was in control. Of what? What's God in control of? We think God's in control of everything. But he gave us the ability to make decisions. If you think that everything that's going to happen to you the rest of this year is God's will for your life, it's not. Your decisions are going to, someone the other day, they ran out of gas. And they told me they ran out of gas, but they said it was God's will for me to run out of gas because the tow truck driver, the guy that came to pick me up to take me to get gas, he didn't know Jesus. And so I told him about Jesus, and he got saved. I said, really? So you think that was God's plan for you to run out of gas, sit on the side of the road for an hour so you could tell the tow truck driver about Jesus? I said, did you ever think that just a few kilometers back at the petrol station, that the guy, the cashier there, didn't know Jesus either? You could have just stopped and got gas and told him about Jesus. We think everything is God's plan. That means that everyone that gets raped is just God's plan. Oh, just God's will. For those children to be taken like that was just God's, no. We have decisions and choices that God gives us. Now, I believe in the will of God and the plan of God for our life. But we got to understand the power of our decisions and our responsibility and the choices that we make, that God gives us free will. He gave us the ability to make those choices. All right, let me give you the last one. There's got to be one more here somewhere. I'm trying to skip through some stuff. I don't even know how long I've been talking. What time is it here? Is it 8:14 here? It's early, right? Okay. Is this helping anybody at all? Is this helping y'all at all? I must decide to change. How about that for the third I? I must decide to change. Because the circumstances you complain about are typically the circumstances you created through your own thoughts, through your own feelings, through your own actions. They're the circumstances that you can change with new thoughts, right? With new thoughts. If we can change our thinking, we're going to talk about the power of our mindset. If you can change your thinking, you can change a lot of things. The Bible says, as a person thinketh, yeah, so will they be. I could never imagine myself having a house like that. Well, don't worry, you won't. I couldn't imagine having my own business. Well, you won't. If you can't imagine it, it's never going to happen. The circumstances you complain about, the feelings, the actions, those circumstances can change with new thoughts, new feelings. If you really wanted to, you could eat healthier food. If you really wanted to, you could eat less food. If you really wanted to, right, you could go back to school. If you really wanted to, you could be a better husband. You could be a more engaged father. You could be a more loyal friend. If you really wanted to, the problem is you just don't want to, I guess. Because you're not changing, so you must not want to, or at least you haven't wanted to. Maybe up till now. Maybe this weekend you'll decide to change. I know you're going, man, could you just go back to some jokes? Those were good. You stop making excuses and take responsibility. If you didn't do something, it's because it wasn't important enough for you to do it. You may have had the best intentions. You may have dreamed up a wonderful plan. You may have put a to-do list together. But if you didn't do it, it doesn't count. If you didn't do it, it doesn't count for anyone, anytime, anywhere. It was just another idea or another thought that came to nothing. If you're totally honest, if all of us are honest with ourselves, it's just because we didn't want to or we would have done it. Now, we would never probably say it like that because it sounds bad. I didn't want to. I didn't want to be a better husband. I didn't want to be a better wife. We wouldn't say it like that. Instead, we say other things. Other things came up. I would have been there, but I had this, or my boss called me, and that means other things came first, which means that we didn't want the other enough to make it a priority, right? So I know it's a little hard-hitting, but we got to change, right? We got to make some changes. And Romans chapter 12 talks all about that. Verse 2, don't be conformed to this world, right? But be transformed by changing the way you think, by progressively changing, by renewing your mind. I know a lot of times in the Spirit-filled Pentecostal church, we thought it said, be transformed by the removal of your mind. But it actually says the renewal of your mind, right? It's changing the way that you think so that you can prove what the will of God is, what the vision of God for your life, which is the good, acceptable, and perfect, his plan and his purpose, his vision for your life. Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Not my will, your will. Not my will, my plan, your plan. What's your vision for my life? Help me develop your vision for my life. Because how many know God's plans are always better than your plans, right? Not my will, your will for my business. Your will for my finances. What's your will? I took my little boy years ago. We went on a Disney cruise. We went on the Disney cruise, and he was so excited. It was his first time, and he's going to get to see Mickey Mouse. And so the first thing we did, the first morning, my wife arranged for us to go to a breakfast with all the characters. So we go to this breakfast, he's gonna get to see Mickey Mouse. On the way, we passed the souvenir shop, and he ran right in there. There are swords for Pirates of the Caribbean. There's all this. He's great. I want this. I want that. Then he found a little Mickey stuffed animal. He goes, I want this. I go, put it back. We're going somewhere. No, I want this. No, son, just put it back. You don't need that. I got something better for you. No, this is what I want. He's just arguing with me. He wants this so bad. He wanted this little fake Mickey Mouse. He didn't know what I had for him was the real thing. Just down the hallway, I had the very best. I had Mickey waiting for him, not a little stuffed animal, not a little fake thing. What I had for him was way better than what he wanted for him. And we're sitting there going, God, I want this. God, I want you to do this. And God's like, look, my will for you is way better than your will for you. What I have for you is way better than what you want for you, not your will. You want to live in heaven on earth. Your kingdom come, your will be on earth as it is in heaven. You get into God's plan and God's purpose for your life, you'll be amazed. So I cannot blame others. I've created my current circumstances. I must decide to change. There it is. So you got to take control. Decide that you care. Take some responsibility. Turn your life around, and that'll help you make the rest of your life the best of your life, right? So growth is your responsibility. Here's another one. Talk about vision. It's one of the traits of the greats is the imagination. Your imagination. Let's talk about that just for a minute, because I think it's a really powerful trait. Imagination. We don't talk about it a lot at church. Visualization, imagination. You know, it could be a new age thing. Sounds like, or maybe it's a Walt Disney thing. I don't know, but no, it's a Bible thing. All throughout the Bible, you saw people use the power of visualization. That's what we're going to talk about a little bit tomorrow, getting a clear vision. But let me just touch on it tonight. And I'll show you in the Bible a couple places. Abraham, you're going to have children. Your children will have children. He's like, I'm 100 years old. My wife's 90. I don't see us having children. You'll have children, and children will have children. And Abraham, God says, Abraham, come out of your tent. Come out here. Now look up in the sky. See those stars? As numerous as the stars in the sky are the children that will come after you. And he had him see the stars and visualize as numerous as the stars. You can't count the stars in the sky. He said, that's how many children, that's the descendants, the generations that will come after you. He had him visualize, get a picture of what it was going to be like. David, another great example. David's one of my favorite people in the Bible, especially teaching on success and that. I loved David. How many remember David killed Goliath? How many have heard that story? Okay. Cut his head off. Y'all remember that part? I love that part. Anyway, especially if you're into success, right? David's the first person I found to really get ahead in life. To get ahead in life. Ahead. All right, that was a bad one. They're going to get better, I promise. But David, whoever kills this giant is going to get his bills paid off, won't have to pay taxes, and gets to marry the king's daughter. So they gave him a picture of what his future would look like. So if I killed the giant, that's what my future's going to look like. And then he said, wait a minute, could you repeat it one more time? He wondered why. I think he started visualizing. He started seeing this picture. He started seeing it, right? You get your bills paid off. He saw all of his bills with that big red stamp. Paid in full. All my bills paid. And no more taxes. Got his taxes, 0 taxes. And you get to marry the king's daughter. All right. I'll fight a giant. Why? He got a picture of the money and the honey, right? And now all of a sudden he's willing to fight a giant because he sees what's in his future. If we could get a picture of what our future looks like. At my house, I've got a wall. I got one in my office, one in my house, where on that wall, I have pictures of things I want in my future. I call it a dream wall, right? I don't have pictures of stuff I don't want, just stuff I do want, right? Anything. I remember my first one, I wanted to make a little TV studio. Pastor, I got pictures of the cameras I wanted and all the equipment and a little set that I liked, and I cut all the pictures out and I put it on the wall. One day I'm gonna have a little TV studio. And there was other stuff. A place I wanted to go on vacation. Well, the Disney cruise. This is before we ever went. And I cut a picture of the boat out and I put it up on, one day we're going to go on a Disney cruise. I wanted a tour bus. I don't even know why, but anyway, I put a picture of one on a tour bus up there. I wanted to give $100,000 to my church. I wanted to give $100,000. So I wrote a check to my church for $100,000. And I put it up on the wall. One day I'm going to give $100,000. And I wrote void over it in case my pastor saw it and tried to get it before I was ready. Wouldn't that be awesome? How many like God to bless your business, bless your life so much? You say, hey, pastor, put me down for 100,000. Yeah, wouldn't that $1 million? Yeah, wouldn't that be awesome? How many like to be able to do that? Yes. Yeah, it's not a pledge. I'm just asking right now. You got nervous. Is this the offering? What is it? No. I'm just asking, right? I heard about these two guys got stranded on this deserted island. And one of them he was just freaking out. He said, man, we got to get help. He said, we got to get help, man. They're never going to find us on this island. And the other guy said, oh, we'll be fine. And he went and sat under a palm tree. He said, what are you doing sitting over there? Bring me some branches. We got to make a fire so they can see us. We got to make fire so they see the smoke. He said, we're going to be fine. He just sat there. He said, bring me some branches. We got to make SOS in the sand. We got to get their attention. And what if a plane, you got to help me. He's like, we're going to be, he goes, why are you not worried? Guy's just sitting under the tree. He's like, I'm not worried because I'm a tither. Because I give. And trust me, my pastor will find us. So I got all these pictures, right? I got all these pictures on the wall of things I want in my future. That was years ago. And now we have the little TV studio. All those cameras, all that stuff. We have it now. But something has to be seeable before it's believable before it's achievable. So you get a picture, right? You get a picture of where you're going in the future. So I've got the bus. I got the tour bus. We had that for a while. I've been on several Disney cruises now. And finally, a few years later, I worked my way up, and finally I was able to give my first $100,000. I didn't know I'd ever make $100,000. I grew up a poor kid from Mississippi, and to be able to give $100,000, not just make it, but be able to give it was pretty. I'm blessed. We're blessed to be a blessing, right? When you get that understanding, and I didn't do it the first time. I started working my way up. I'm a tither. I understand that 10% belongs to God. I bring that back to Him. It's not even a Bible word. It's just a math word. Tithe means tenth. So I honor Him with 10%. He said if I did that, He'd open up heaven over my life and bless me. And how many want the windows of heaven open over your life? Yeah. So it's just a simple principle. That's all it is. If you do the principle, you do your part. God will do His part. That's not even hard to figure out. You know. Now, we were scared. Now, we didn't learn about the joy of it and the principle of it growing up. We just learned you better do it or God will kill you. That's how we learned. You remember Ananias and Sapphira in the Bible? They didn't give 10%. They gave like 6%. And God killed them. I mean, just saying. He's not killing everybody, obviously, all liars, but. Anyway, to me, I thought God was like the godfather of the mafia, and tithe was like protection money. Just give God His money, He won't break your legs. I didn't learn the joy of giving, but anyway, I began to learn that, and then above that, I learned to be generous, right? Above my tithe, to bring God an offering, and if I'm ever going to get to 100,000, I got to start somewhere. It's like because giving. When you give your tithe, that's just a principle. It doesn't take any muscle faith to do that. It's just a principle. It's just a decision to do that. But to be generous above the tithe, to give offerings, that's where it takes some faith, right? Because you're taking your part. The other part was God's anyway. Now I'm taking my part and giving it, believing God's going to multiply it, and that takes my faith. That's a faith muscle. And if you want a muscle to grow, you got to exercise it, right? You got to work it out. I don't just go in the gym, go, I'm going to bench 500 pounds. Put it on there. Let me see if I can do it. No, that would be crazy. I'd hurt myself. So I may start with 100 pounds. Put 100 pounds. Let me see if I can do that. And once I got 100 pounds, I'm like, oh, I could do that. Okay, what do I say? Add a little weight on the end. So I put a little more weight on. Now I'm up. I can do 200 pounds. And then I'm up to 300 pounds. And I'm just working my way up, right? One day I can get to 500, but I got to start where I'm at. One day I might give 100,000, but today maybe 100, right? I'm working my way up to 200 and working my way up. And I don't bench 500 yet. I bench press right now. I bench press right around 3:30 or 4 o'clock. Right around that time's usually when I bench press. Some of y'all get that later. You just rewatch this. Rewatch it. But I'm just working my way. I'm just working. It was years before. I never forget the first time I gave $500 in an offering. We're in a meeting like this, and Pastor got up and he challenged us to give an offering above our tithe. And he's like, there's several people here who could give $500. I remember him saying that. I was sitting on the second row right over on this side. And he said, there's several people who can give $500. And I said, whoa, 500. Whew, I hope God speaks to them. I didn't want to be one, just whoever they were. And all of a sudden I felt like God said, you're one of them, give 500. I said, oh, shoot. I started to reach for my wallet. About the time I did, the guy sitting next to me said, I'm one of them. I said, whew. I guess I overheard God talking to that guy. So I put my wallet back in my pocket. My wife leaned over and said, is God telling you anything? I said, I don't know. Is he telling you anything? She said, I think we're supposed to give 500. I said, oh, shoot. I remember writing the envelope, writing 500. Ink was smearing from the tears. God loves a cheerful giver. Whatever. I had $503 in my account. When you have $503 and God wants 500 of it, you want to make sure he knows what he's doing. I remember I kind of held my phone up so he could see how much was in my account. He said he already knew how much was in there. That's why he didn't ask for more. People are like, you shouldn't cry when you give. I said, I'm not. I'm just watering my seed. Okay, number two. What was number one again? Back to the bit. Growth is your responsibility, right? Growth is not automatic. It's your responsibility. Second one, growth today brings success tomorrow. I know I gave you some other numbers underneath there. I hope I counted them all. Did I give you all the other ones I said? You're like, I don't know. People, OCD people are like, you didn't do number two. I didn't get it. Growth today brings success tomorrow, right? What you sow today determines what you reap tomorrow. Let's talk about your mindset just for a second, and we'll go deeper into some of these over the weekend. But anybody ever heard of a guy named Roger Bannister? Ever heard of Roger Bannister? Yeah, a couple people. Roger Bannister is the first human to ever run a mile in under 4 minutes. Never been done before. 1954, Roger Bannister ran a mile in under 4 minutes. People just didn't think it could be done. Our bodies aren't made that way. Our muscles, just humans can't do that. It was impossible for people to do that until 1954 when Roger Bannister did it. Well, the next year, 1955, 30 people ran a mile in under 4 minutes. The next year, over 100 people ran a mile in under 4 minutes. Today, you can go to a track meet at a high school and see people do it. But what changed back in 1954? What changed when Roger Bannister did it? Did our muscles change? Did the way we run? What changed? A mindset changed. Thinking changed. Well, if he can do it, we didn't think it was possible. Now we see it's possible. If he can do it, I can do it. It wasn't a time barrier that was broken. It was a mind barrier that was broken, right? People's thinking began to change. We might as well think big, and we serve a big God. Ephesians 3:20 said he'll do exceedingly above all that you could ask or what? Think. That's how important your thinking is. He'll do above what you could even think, what you could imagine, what you could come up with. God can do even more than that. Life will not allow you to enjoy more success than you think you deserve. Now, if the way that you've thought and the way that you believed up until now, I ask how many like to be doing better than you're doing right now. Let me ask that again. How many like to be doing better than you're doing right now? Okay, that's just about all of us. So if the way that you've thought and the way that you believed up until now was capable of producing what you desire, you would already have what you desire. So if you don't have what you desire, if you're not where you want to be, then maybe there's some wrong thinking or wrong believing that is the cause of that. So my goal over the next few days while pastors allow me to be here is hopefully to introduce you to some new ways of thinking. We used to say it this way. My grandpa used to always say, you need a checkup from the neck up, right? To get rid of some stinking thinking. Because so often, how many would admit at some point in your life you've limited yourself by your own thinking? Your own thinking has limited you. Yeah, listen, this is something I can talk about. I wrote a book. One of the books in this series here is called Mindset Matters. And just last week, I had a whole thing with my mindset I had to deal with. It's something you're always working on. It's something you always got to, that's why it says renew your mind every day, right? Renewing your thinking. So my goal is to introduce you to some new ways of thinking that I think will produce, it'll produce the results that God has promised and that you desire. Some different ways of thinking, some reprogramming maybe that we're going to have to do to create a new and more powerful belief system. All right, so do y'all say BS over here? Like, I'm going to deal with your BS? Do y'all use that term, like your belief systems? Okay, I just checking. But so my goal is to help you progress in the process of renewing your mind and changing that mental programming, right? How many have to work at being positive? It takes a little work for you to be positive. Your mindset goes a little negative. Come on, let me see it. Be honest. Yeah, I was born a pessimist. Trust me, I understand. I got to work it. My blood type is even B negative, right? So I understand. If you're going to be thinking anyway, you might as well think big. The key to thinking big is exposure. You got to see that there's more. God has more for you. Another one of those traits is wisdom, which was kind of an overarching theme all weekend. We're going to be getting wisdom in the area of vision and wisdom in the area of our mindset that will help us to fulfill the vision God has for us. But successful people learn from other successful people. I told you I try to learn something every day. If you want tomorrow to be different than today, learn something today that'll make tomorrow different. Right? So learn something. Proverbs 1, a wise person increases in learning. Proverbs 1, verse 5. You can go all throughout. Proverbs 3 tells us how valuable wisdom is, right? It's more valuable than silver. It's more profitable than gold. It's more precious than rubies. Nothing is as valuable as wisdom, right? Then he says in Proverbs 4, hey, whatever you do, get wisdom. Whatever you do, get wisdom. And then it goes on to tell us that wisdom, it tells us all the benefits of wisdom. You go on in 6 and 7 and 8, wisdom will promote you. Wisdom will protect you. It tells us all the values of wisdom. Wisdom will bring promotion to your life. Great story, a great example. That is two guys I went to high school with were trying to get a promotion at their job. They both worked at the same company. And a promotion came available, and so they went down to HR. They went down to the office and said, hey, we're interested in the promotion. They said, well, there's a little test. If you take the test, we'll look over the test, and whoever gets the best score on the test gets the promotion. The Bible says wisdom will promote you. So they both took the test. The next day they called them back in. They said, okay, guys, we looked over your test, and you've actually both scored the same thing. You got the exact same score on the test. But Kenny, we've decided to give you the job. Well, Roger was upset. He said, why, if we got the same score, why does he get the job? They said, well, it really came down to your answers. They said, well, what was our answer? They said, well, it was question 46 that made all the difference. They said, well, what was our answers? They said, well, Kenny, we gave you the job. You put, I don't know. He said, Roger, you put me either. Wisdom can make all the difference in the world. So, like I said, the only problem you'll ever have in life is a wisdom problem. Three ways you can get wisdom. Number one, you can get it from mistakes. That's the slowest way to get wisdom, is to learn from mistakes. But we've all learned from our mistakes, but that's the key, is learning from them, not making the same one over and over again. So the number one, you can get wisdom from your mistakes. Second way to get wisdom is from mentors. Mentors, that's a lot quicker way to get wisdom. I'd rather get my wisdom from Pastor Tommy's mistakes than my mistakes, right? If you got a mentor right there to teach us, and so we don't have to make the same mistakes. I called one of my mentors. I said, hey, I'm thinking about doing this project. I'm doing this and this. What do you think? He said, I wouldn't do that if I was you. I said, why not? I think it's a great idea. He said, yeah. He said, so did I. He'd already done it. Found out it didn't work. Man, he just saved me 3 months of work, just saved me $40,000. Why? Because he'd already done what I was thinking about doing. So I learned from his mistakes. That's called mentorship. Another way to get wisdom is money. You can buy it. And you go to my office, I've got 4,000 books. 4,000. Why? There's too much stuff I don't know. I hate not knowing stuff. So I can buy a book. I can buy someone's book. What took them their entire lifetime to learn, I can learn in 3 hours for like 20 bucks. You'd be crazy not to buy books. I got biographies. I got all kind of books. Anything I can take to learn from something, boy, that just saves me a whole lot of time. I was at a meeting one time with a guy named Peter J. Daniels. Has anybody ever heard of Peter J. Daniels? He's one of the wealthiest men in Australia. He's actually a Christian businessman, but one of the wealthiest men in Australia. I went to a seminar he was doing, and it cost me about $3,000 to go to his seminar. But he's doing better than I'm doing, so obviously he knows something I don't know. If you're not doing as well as you'd like to be doing, so I go to his seminar. He's talking, I'm writing as fast as I can. Like, that's a good one. That's a good key, because it only takes one key, right, to start your car. So I'm writing down everything I can. At the end, he goes, I got some books and CDs, and go make yourself available to those. He told us about some stuff he had in the lobby at the back of the room. And as soon as the seminar was over, as soon as the meeting was over, I grabbed my friend and said, come on, let's hurry. I want to get all that stuff. He's like, you're going to get it? I said, yeah, let's go. So I ran back to the table. I said, how much is all this stuff? They said, everything? I said, everything. I want everything. And they added it up. They said, if you buy everything on this table, it's $1,600 for everything on the table. And, well, I didn't know he knew that much stuff. I wasn't expecting it to be that much. $1,600. I thought, that's crazy. My friend said, that's crazy. He said, you think it's worth it? I thought for a minute. I said, you know what? I think I'm worth it. See, when I buy a $20 book, I don't buy it because I think the paper's worth it or the cover's worth it. I buy it because I think I'm worth it. I mean, if I don't think I'm worth a $20 investment, why would anybody else think I'm worth $20? See, when you invest, like coming here tonight, you invested your time. Well, time is all you've got. So that's an investment you made to be here tonight, to come tomorrow morning, to come tomorrow night, to be here over this weekend. You're investing. That means you believe you're worth it. Yeah. Well, actually, I just didn't have nothing else to do. Well, if you don't believe you're worth it, no one else is going to believe you're worth it, right? And so there's 3 ways you can see yourself. You can see yourself the way other people see you, which could be good. It may not be good, I don't know. But I have learned this: what other people think about you is none of your business. Eleanor Roosevelt said it like this. She said, no one can make you feel inferior without your consent. So quit going through your whole life worrying about what everyone else thinks about you all the time. The second way to see yourself is how you see yourself. which would be called confidence, right? You want to have confidence. You want to have a good self-esteem, but things happen, right? Things happen in our life. People say things to us, do things that affect our self-esteem. I mean, if you listen to everything everybody else said, and I can think of a lot of things in my life that if I held on to it would have affected my self-esteem, right? Gosh, one time in high school, a girl broke up with me. She was, "I'm breaking up with you. You got low self-esteem." I was like, "Great, that helped." Another time in high school, this girl called me. She said, "Hey, come over to my house. Nobody's home." I went over there, and nobody was home. I just kept knocking. There was nobody there. That's hurtful. That's damaging to your self-esteem. The third way to see yourself is to see yourself the way God sees you. So I can see myself the way other people see me. I can see myself the way I see me. But the third level is to see yourself the way God sees you. I call that Godfidence. Not confidence, but Godfidence. Not knowing who I am, but knowing whose I am. And so when you develop a Godfidence, it changes the way you think, the way you walk, the way you talk. Everything changes when you understand who you are in Christ and the authority you have there. That's a whole nother message. But invest in yourself. Let me just be teachable. Keep learning. Keep growing, keep coming to, when they put together things like this, get here, get everything you can out of it. There's a great basketball coach in the States called John Wooden. His name is John Wooden. And he said that he made this statement. He said, "What counts most is what you learn after you know it all." A lot of times, the more you learn, the less you think you have to learn, and then you become unteachable. My grandfather, 95 years old, I walk in one day, he's reading a book. I said, "What are you reading?" It was some self-help book. I'm like, "You're 95. What else are you going to do?" He goes, "Well, I'm not dead yet." And he said, "You're either growing or you're dying." We got to keep growing, right? We got to keep being teachable. Few people really dedicate themselves to the process of personal growth, but because one of the reasons is because growth requires change, and most of us aren't comfortable with change. We don't like change, and so. But if you don't change, you won't grow, and if you don't grow, you're not really living. So, keep growing, keep growing. Number three, and then I'll wrap this up tonight. Never stay satisfied with your current accomplishments. Never stay satisfied with your current accomplishments. The greatest enemy of tomorrow's success is today's success. Thinking you've arrived, thinking that's good enough because you've accomplished a certain thing, it takes away your desire for continual growth. Successful people don't just sit back. The Bible says to be content in everything. I am content. It didn't say I'm satisfied. It said I'm content, right? But I know that God has more, right? Because God is a God of more than enough. He's not a God of almost enough or barely enough, or he's a God of more than enough. So the very first command God gave humans was be fruitful and multiply. Multiply means to increase. So the first thing God said is, I want you to be more than you are right now. Right? So that's God's plan, that we keep growing and keep learning. And they understand that you got to keep growing if you want to stay productive. Some things get you to the top, other things keep you there. But you got to stay hungry. You got to refuse to settle. Enjoy it. And then keep growing, keep going, keep becoming more. Let me give you a couple more traits, and then I'll let you go. By the way, a lot of these traits I'm teaching are all from this book that's in this. This is brand new. We just came out with this called Success Made Simple. It used to come in big boxes. Each book came like there'd be a coaching program that went with the book. So like the 12 Traits of the Greats, you'd get a big box. There'd be the book in there. Then you get the audio book. There was a workbook in there. There's 12 video coaching sessions. So it's one thing you could read the book, 12 Traits of the Greats, but to have to go through each trait. And let's talk about this. How can we develop this in our life? How do we put this to practice? And so that's what each of these boxes would do. The another shot that book, I developed a whole 30-day program. So every morning when you wake up in the morning, I'm at your house. Remember I told you I'd like to come over for 30 days? And y'all didn't know me that well. Now you get to know me a little bit. Now it's less people want me to come over. So, but I love the Another Shot, that program. It has the book, but it has, I invited some friends of mine to join me. So most of them, I'm coaching through all the videos. But on this one, for 30 days, I have different friends that join me. Like one day we talk about decision making, right? If you got to make a decision to get back up. And so a friend of mine, his name's Lee Cockrell, he ran Disney World in Orlando, Florida. He ran Disney, all 4 parks, 2 water parks, 18 resorts, 200 something restaurants. He ran all that for 13 years. He knows a little bit about decision making. He's made a few of them. He's a friend of mine. So one day, me and Lee will come on, and we'll be there when you wake up in the morning, and we'll talk to you about decisions. And you'll have a workbook, and you go through it. At the end of the 30 days, you have a great plan. On the very first day, we talk about attitude, the importance of attitude. And so I thought, who could I get to do the session with me on attitude? Who do I know that has a good attitude? And I've got a friend he's actually a pastor. Most of the people on there are business people, but this guy's a pastor, and he's got a little church in Houston, Texas. And I said, listen, I think I could really help you get your name out there, and you might could do something with your life if you want to be on my video. And so I asked this guy, Joel Osteen, if he wanted to be on my video, and he's like, I'd love to be on your video, Dave. And so Pastor Joel Osteen is on day one. Him and I are talking to you about your attitude. Anyway, it's Amy K. Hutchins. She trains all the top executives for Google, Zappos. She's on here with me one day. So it's great. So anyway, that's in here. How many realize you could work on your mindset a little bit more? Yeah, I think that book is worth the whole thing. So that book's in here. How many have ever had a bad habit? How many like to have good habits? Right. How do you get rid of bad habits? Well, there's a lot of understanding of habits and the habit loop and how you develop habits and all that. But even the Bible tells us about that. How do you overcome evil? You overcome evil with good. How do you get rid of bad habits? I think you create new and better habits. So we have a book called Make That, Break That, where I take you through understanding habits, how to break habits, how to develop new and better habits. And so each one of these, the one on favor, I'm gonna like to have more of God's favor in your life. That's one of my favorite subjects to teach on, God's favor. Anyway, in this thing, you got 6 books, 6 of our top books that have complete coaching programs. So when you grab this, we used to bring all the big boxes, but with technology and everything today, it's just so much simpler. My team put this all together in here. So if you bought all these boxes separately, I think it's like $2,400 or something if we brought all the boxes. Or if you went on the website, tried to buy all the different boxes, and they put it all together in one thing so I could help coach you for the next six programs. So I don't know, that's over 6 months worth of stuff. You get 6 books, 6 workbooks, over 70-something coaching videos, 6 audio books. So if you don't like to read, I'll read the books to you. I mean, I'm gonna be at your house anyway for 30 days. So I'll read bedtime stories to you. But it's just to help coach you. And you need someone to help you develop a map to get you from where you are to where you want to be. And it's not for everybody. I didn't bring enough of these for everybody. I don't even know. I think we brought maybe 30 of them, something like that. So it's not for everybody, but those who are like me, I got to know. I want to know more. Give me everything. If you're like that, grab one of these, and that'll give you 6 of our top programs. Like I said, it's normally whatever at $2,000 something if you bought them all individually. I think even this on our website's over $1,000. But while we're here, I brought the 30 of them, and you can get it for only 250 euros. So just 250 euro, you can get the whole. I mean, you just barely could buy 6 books probably for that. But you get the whole thing with all the videos and everything while we have them. And that's a good deal. Say thank you. Could at least be grateful. What is it? Ketosis? Ketos. Yeah. Thank you. I'm learning. All right, let me give you a couple last traits and focus. Focus. That's one I need to study a little bit more after tonight. I've been here and there. Focus. The only reason people fail, broken focus. You want to destroy someone's dream, give them another dream. Break their focus. Get them going two different directions. If we understood the power of focus, you're always drawn toward your dominant thoughts. What you look at the longest becomes the strongest. I was brought in to work with a NASCAR driver. It's a race car driver who'd had an accident and it hit the wall. And every time he got behind the wheel of the car, all he could think about was the wall. Don't hit the wall. Don't hit the wall. Well, if you understand focus, you're always pulled toward your dominant thoughts, right? So it's kind of, as long as he's thinking about the wall, where's he going to end up again? In the wall. So they said, can you help us work on his mindset, on his focus? And we went in and did some training for a couple days with him and helped him change his focus. What are you looking at? Sight affects desire. Sight affects desire. I noticed you guys have a Taco Bell here. I could live here. I love Taco Bell. But I don't know if in the States, that's the one that's open the latest. They're always open late, right? So I'd finished doing some work one night, just wanted to change my focus before I went to bed. I wasn't hungry or anything. I'd been writing a book and just wanted to change my focus, and I flipped on the TV. Within moments of turning on the TV, I was hungry for a cheesy gordita. I wasn't hungry before, but a Taco Bell commercial came on, and they showed it, that cheesy gordita. I thought, I want one of those, and the commercial said, we're open late. And they got me, 1 o'clock, I was down there. I made a run for the border. I got me 2 cheesy gorditas. Why? Because sight affects desire, right? So understand the power of focus. In the 12 trades program there, we talk about passion, which is part of what we'll be talking about tomorrow in discovering your vision. And it really helps you walk through, because what you love is a clue. What you love to do is a clue. What you hate is also a clue to your assignment, to your purpose, to your vision. And so we help you discover those in passion. Courage. I love that one. I put that here in the traits because to be successful, you got to be a person of action. You know, we would call it, walk by faith, right? Take a step of faith. You got to have the courage to take a step. Life shrinks or expands in proportion to one's courage. Courage is something we celebrate. We admire it. Everybody wants it. Some people have it. Courage. It's the ability to be a person of action, because nothing in life is guaranteed, right? I mean, life is a challenge. Anything worthwhile is going to be risky. So people of greatness, though, they aren't afraid of failure. They aren't afraid of what other people are going to think. In fact, most successful people I know, like I said, have a few failures under their belt. Reminds me of this captain of a ship. Young man comes to the captain and he says, Captain, there are 5 enemy ships on the horizon. And the captain said, young man, bring me my red coat. So they brought the captain his red coat, and he put on the red coat, and they started to fight. They fought until they finally destroyed all 5 of the ships. The young man said, Captain, can I ask you a question? Why did you want your red coat? He said, well, young man, the red coat was in case during the battle I was stabbed, or if I was shot and I began to bleed, the men wouldn't notice me bleeding, and they would keep fighting with courage. It's like, wow, Captain, that's amazing. You wouldn't even worry about yourself. You just keep fighting. You're the courageous one. That's amazing. A couple days later, the young man comes back. He says, Captain, there are 20 enemy ships on the horizon. The captain said, young man, bring me my brown pants. Courage. The greatest investment you'll ever make is the investment you make in yourself. And so I encourage you, keep investing, keep growing, keep looking at how you can be everything that you were created to be. Tomorrow we're going to talk about developing this clear vision. And I think a lot of people don't reach their potential. It's not because they're not talented enough or don't have enough favor, but their vision is limited. Their vision is limited. They don't see themselves living healthy. They don't see themselves accomplishing their dreams. They don't see a happy marriage. But you will never rise higher than the way you see yourself. And that's why it's so important that we get a clear vision through the eyes of faith, that you're able to see for yourself or the life that you want to be. You may be fighting an illness right now, but you got to see yourself healthy. You got to get a clear vision. God, what did we say earlier? God's will on earth as it is in heaven. Remember, in heaven, there's no sickness up there. There's no struggle financially up there. There's no debt up there. There's this. So if you're dealing with an addiction, don't see yourself. Don't let a negative image take root in your mind of how you see yourself. Don't see yourself defeated or dysfunctional or with no chance of breaking it. You got to see yourself victorious. You are an overcomer. So your vision is setting the limits of your life. Your vision is setting the limits on your life. The picture that you keep in front of you in your imagination is what you're moving toward. Even subconsciously, like a magnet, you're being pulled toward what you're seeing, the vision that you're seeing. Maybe you're, like we said earlier, maybe you're struggling with low self-esteem, inferiority. You don't measure up. You got to change the way you see yourself, change the picture. Get in agreement with how God sees you. What Psalms 139 says, you are fearfully and wonderfully made, right? You're a masterpiece. He calls you a masterpiece, one of a kind. If you could get a clear vision of yourself the way God sees you, it would change everything. So if we can change the pictures you have on the inside of you, it'll change what you begin to see on the outside of you. The scripture we said earlier, as a person thinks in their heart, so will they be. That's why it's so important that we know what God's word says about us. And we begin to develop a better picture of how you see yourself. So don't see yourself lacking. Don't see yourself negative. Don't see yourself a victim. Oh, but Dave, I've been through so much. It's just not fair, all the things I've been through. I'm struggling, I'm just struggling to make it. That's a wrong picture. It's a wrong vision of your future. And so we're going to get into some of that tomorrow and working on our mindset and our thinking and developing that picture. Amen.